should undergo an independent medical evaluation to substantiate his continued absence, Karim has refused to do so. Justice Mlanga says the Commission has had enough of Karim's repeated attempts to avoid testifying.
The Commission is minded to refer Mr. Karim for a criminal process. What the relevant authorities do in that regard is for them to decide. Whether it's taken to the South African Police Service for them to see whether they can lay charges, or the National Prosecuting Authority for it to see whether to prosecute. That's their decision. That is what the Commission, as we are sitting here, is minded to do.
Suspended Member of Parliament Fadil Adams claims Parliament lied when it refuted allegations that his state-issued laptop malfunctioned, causing him to submit a late affidavit to the Mlanga Commission. Adams was addressing varying allegations against him outside the Pinetown Magistrates Court this morning, where his fraud in defeating the ends of justice case was postponed to the 11th of September. The case stems from his oversight visit to the Westville prison in 2024 and last year to interviewed 2 inmates without official parliamentary mandate. Meanwhile, Adams' separate appearance at the Commission to discuss his reports to IDAC has been delayed owing to his late submission, which he continues to defend.
Parliament is lying. I've got the evidence on my phone. The paper trail is there pertaining to our emails to the Speaker. Every one of the technicians can be asked, off the record, on the record, if they work on my laptop. I'm sure every one of them is going to say yes, they have. So I have no idea why Parliament is getting involved in all of this. It's clear that this thing is deeper than we thought. It runs high, possibly to the highest office in the land.
A second suspect linked to an alleged human trafficking syndicate in Durban has been arrested. The 48-year-old is expected to appear in the Durban Magistrates Court today after surrendering to police in Durban North. His arrest follows that of a 65-year-old prominent Durban businessman earlier this week, who's listed as the first accused in the matter. Both suspects cannot be named as they are yet to plead to a sexual assault charge against them. KwaZulu-Natal Hawk spokesperson Philane Nkwalase.
He will be facing charges of trafficking in persons, sexual assault, and kidnapping when he appears in the Durban Magistrates Court.
2 people have died in a head-on collision involving a truck and a private vehicle in Knysna this morning. Police say the accident happened just before 8 a.m. on the N2 highway near the Knysna Lagoon. The police's Chris Spies says a case of culpable homicide has been opened.
2 vehicles collided head-on. 2 occupants sustained multiple injuries and they were declared deceased by medical personnel on scene. The truck driver was taken to a nearby medical facility for medical care after he sustained serious injuries.
And Colombia's disaster relief chief has vowed to find the hundreds of people still missing after a massive earthquake. Rescuers are digging through rubble following the end of a critical life-saving period. The strongest quake to hit Colombia this century devastated the western cities of Cali and Pereira and destroyed nearly 13,000 homes across the coffee-growing region and along the coast. The 7.4 magnitude tremor struck on Monday, killing 281 people and injuring almost 4,000. While 379 others remain missing. Gold's trading at $4,357.02 an ounce. The rand's at 16.17 to the dollar, at 21.87 to the pound, at 18.68 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $87.56 a barrel.
Bedford View, there's an accident seen on the N3 southbound near Van Buren, causing heavy delays from the Gululis interchange. There's also an accident seen in the Mother City on the N2 incoming. Before Baden Powell, causing heavy delays from Spine Road. And then there's also an accident seen on the N2 Wide Bridge. That's in the Knysna area, causing delays in both directions.
A look at your weather. A partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 16 and 17 degrees. It's also a partly cloudy Friday afternoon in Cape Town today with fresh northwesterly winds at a high of 18 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. IDAC prosecutor Drushantha Ramsamy is back at the Mlanga Commission of Inquiry to continue with her testimony.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Every promise, every ward, every word. Follow every moment of the local government elections on 702 Cape Talk and EWN.co.za. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Coming up on the show today, controversial businessman Sulaman Karim will now be criminally charged for his Mlanga Commission no-shows. Fadil Adams appears in court in KwaZulu-Natal. How much weight should we invest in opinion polls ahead of the local government elections? And it's Friday, so sports and good things too. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Great to be with you today. How much weight do you invest in opinion polls? If you see a poll that tells you that the ANC is in drastic decline, do you believe it? And do you think, ooh, yeah, that might be true? Or do you think, I never get polled? You know, I asked the Statistician General this last week, who are you polling? Because no one's asking me any questions. And when these pollsters are calling people, do they call you? How much weight should we be giving to these opinion polls ahead of the local government elections? We'll talk about that a bit later on. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too. You can send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072 702 1702, 072 567 1567. Listen, this thing of Sulaman Karim is becoming an absolute joke at the Mlanga Commission. So he was supposed to appear again today, and he hasn't. And this has been going on forever, where he sends doctor's notes and then he gets spotted at the Woolies in Cape Town, and then the doctor has to backtrack and explain why he's at the Woolies. And now he's being referred to the NPA, and they must decide whether to charge him or not. He must be so desperate not to appear at the Mlanga Commission, like so desperate that he would do anything to not rock up there. But now he could be criminally charged for not rocking up. We'll look at how this all works legally a bit later on as well. But firstly, let's understand what actually happened this morning. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter at the Mlanga Commission. Alpha, good afternoon to you. Surprise, surprise, Sulaman Karim is not at the Mlanga Commission today.
Good afternoon, Mandy. A big surprise indeed when we got to the commission, seeing his lawyers present and him not in the seat that he was supposed to be in today. And of course, you would remember that 2-3 weeks ago, the commission had ruled that they would only excuse him today if he could undergo an independent medical assessment by an independent doctor to prove that he is really medically unfit to testify. And the document that he gave to the commission today wasn't a report from an independent medical assessment. It was a report from his doctor saying that Mr. Karim has not consented to undergoing an independent medical assessment, and gave an explanation in detail in his document why he doesn't want to undergo an independent medical assessment. And the Mlanga Commission of Inquiry really believes that Sulaman Karim is really just not taking the commission seriously. I mean, they had given him ample time to go to the independent medical doctor to see if he's indeed really medically unfit to testify, but he chose not to. And so Sulaman Karim right now is going to be referred to the National Prosecuting Authority for possible criminal prosecution. The Justice Boiseli Mlanga saying that this is the only choice that they had, Mandy, because they feel like they've given him so many postponements. I mean, between April and today, there's been 5 postponements that have happened for Sulaman Karim, and so they believe that this is unacceptable. Let's take a listen to Justice Boiseli Mlanga telling Sulaman Karim's lawyers that they are really just tired of the runaround.
The Commission is minded to refer Mr. Karim for a criminal process. What the relevant authorities do in that regard is for them to decide. Whether it's taken to the South African Police Service for them to see whether they can lay charges, or the National Prosecuting Authority for it to see whether to prosecute. That's their decision. That is what the Commission, as we are sitting here, is minded to do.
Yes.
So that will not be coercion by the commission as
Yes.
such. It will be those functionaries who
Yes.
have the power to do whatever is within their remit
Correct.
to decide or do.
Correct.
That's what we are minded to do, so that you are not arguing in the dark.
Yes.
Let me upfront tell you what we are minded to do.
No, I'll deal with that. That's my last point, which I'll deal with about any such referral. So I'll come to that if I may.
So, Alpha, that's what they've suggested. Justice Mlanga clearly having none of this anymore. Same with Fadil Adams, who he rebuked earlier in the week as well. What about the doctor? Is there any concern about the credibility of the doctor here?
Yeah, this is the very same argument that Justice Mbuyiseli Majanga made to the lawyers of Sulaman Karim, that they are not necessarily saying that the doctor doesn't know what he's doing, but he's proven many times over the past 3 months that he isn't really objective when it comes to Sulaman Karim. The two clearly share some sort of a relationship, according to the assessments and the evaluation of the commission, because when Karim was asked to undergo an independent medical examination, his doctor is the one who responded through a document and an affidavit to the commission, arguing that Sulaman Karim has not consented to seeing another doctor. He wants a doctor that is used to and a doctor that knows him. And so Justice Mbuyiseli Majanga doesn't question the credibility of the doctor, but he says that the concern from the get-go was that this doctor is not really objective, but is making these arguments based on his own relationship with Sulaman Karim.
Okay, so Drew Ramsamy, the advocate, I mean, does she just hang around there hoping that somebody won't rock up and they just bring her in as a reserve every time somebody doesn't testify? That's not a serious question.
Well, maybe she could not conclude a testimony on Monday earlier this week because she was unwell. She was coughing the entire time, and so the commission gave her a few days to go and get some medication and rest. And so today, hopefully, she is going to conclude her testimony. But she is testifying about, number one, crime intelligence's controversial investigation into IDEC's investigation, into crime intelligence, and number two, IDEC's handling of the investigation into Vusumuzi Cat Matlala's 360 million rand police tender. What she's told the commission this morning is that from the beginning, it seems that Andrea Johnson, IDEC's former head, wanted to link Fani Masemola to the 360 million rand tender one way or the other. And she kept on saying that they needed to find something on Masemola. They needed to dig to find something against the suspended National Police Commissioner, to which I guess they later did, charging him with violations of the Public Finance Management Act. But we have heard over the past few weeks as well that Fani Masemola matter was flawed. There was no reason for him to be arrested and put in the same dock with Vusumuzi Cat Matlala. So we're continuing to hear Kushanta Ramsami's version of account of what happened when they started investigating the Medicare 24 Tshwane District contract, which was awarded by the South African Police Service.
Alpha, thank you very much. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, speaking to us there about the Mlanga Commission. On the WhatsApp line, Danny says, I just want to know how much Karim pays that lawyer of his and how filthy that money must be. I felt sick as I watched that grimy lawyer smiling with absolute glee for getting away with it again today. Yeah, I'm so annoyed. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Hi, Mandy. Not sure what his name is, but Sulaman Karim's lawyer was either lathered in baby oil or was sweating. Also, I'm interested to know what the charges would be other than obstruction of justice. Well, we'll find out in a minute. I'll speak to Advocate Paul Pretorius about that. But before we get into that, let's listen in live to Drew Ramsamy and her testimony at the Mlanga Commission.
Have Joy in there and then the PA of Advocate Johnson.
Correct.
Okay, you can read the email.
Good evening, ID. Trust you are well. I apologize that we could not submit earlier. We only finished drafting at 5 p.m. Attached is our combined report and submissions after careful consideration of all factors. Kind regards.
Now, had Advocate Johnson expected you to submit this report because Mr. Pariachi had his draft affidavit for the J50, or?
Advocate Johnson was expecting us to submit the charge sheet in a prosecution memo showing that there is evidence linking it to the offences or elements of the offence and the in consultation note for the DDPP.
Okay, so she was expecting to get a document that was supportive of the J50, essentially. Okay. And then if we can go to the memo on page 382, and we'll just highlight certain aspects of it. You can read, so it's memorandum, prosecutor's report, evidence, vetting and promotions. Title State Advocates 2 July 2025. It's from you and Advocate Hlachwayo, invest to Advocate Johnson. Just read in paragraph 1 the purpose.
The purpose of this memorandum is to make submissions to the investigating director, ID, regarding the lack of material evidence in leg 4 of Project Diversion.
Testimony at the moment from Advocate Drew Ramsamy. And this is because Sulaman Karim not there today, as you heard from Alpha Ramashwana. Again, his lawyer arguing that he can't present himself. So what has happened subsequently is the Commission has sent this now to the NPA. Well, let's find out how this works and what charges he could face. How much leeway does he get? Advocate Paul Pretorius, a legal expert, also the evidence leader at the Zondo Commission. So he knows more than a thing or two about how reading evidence from witnesses works. Advocate, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Hello, Mandy.
So Paul, we've got a witness here who clearly does not want to come to the Commission and is finding every reason not to come. How much leeway does a witness like this get when they rely on medical reports? And what is your take on how the Commission is now dealing with this?
Well, by laying charges for failure to appear, they're implementing the provisions of the Commissions Act. And firstly, the Commissions Act provides two things that may be relevant. One is hindering or obstructing a commission. So, for example, a medical practitioner who colludes in deceiving the commission in regard to the health or capacity of a witness may face problems in relation to the hindering or obstruction of a commission. And that's a power that the commission could use where inadequate or false information is given. Doctors can be subpoenaed to explain why certain certificates were given and why information was withheld. So there's that avenue. It's a cumbersome avenue because it means a further inquiry, further subpoena. But failure to obey a subpoena, provided the witness has been properly subpoenaed in terms of the Act and regulations, then failure to appear is an offence. In terms of the Criminal Procedure Act, a criminal court can then arrest a witness. But that power, I don't think, I haven't looked recently at the regulations and the rules, but I don't think the Commission has the power to arrest a witness, call it before it, and then impose a penalty. That would be left up to the criminal court. So what the Commission here does is refer to the relevant law enforcement authorities, and they will take the matter further, which may be a cumbersome procedure, as it was in the case of former President Zuma.
Which, of course, went all the way to the Constitutional Court in the Khampepe judgment. What about the doctor in this instance? Can there be any kind of accountability from the Commission, or do they leave that to the professional bodies?
No, that can and perhaps ought to be done by the Commission, where the Commission feels that medical practitioners are hindering or obstructing a commission. Section 5 of the Commissions Act specifically provides that any person who hinders or obstructs a commission in the performance of its function is guilty of an offence and could be subject to a fine of, quote, £50, unquote. It's really an outdated act from 1947, which is a lot of money these days, or 6 months imprisonment. So anyone who obstructs or hinders a commission, a doctor who completes a false certificate, and in that way assists a witness to avoid or evade attendance at the commission would be guilty of an offence if it can be shown that there was false information submitted in that certificate. So that course of action could be taken in relation to a doctor.
Right. Why is it so important that the commission is seen to act against people that don't come and testify, or people that treat it as a bit of a joke, like Fadil Adams and Sulaman Karim, in terms of protecting its powers and credibility?
Well, it's pretty obvious from recent events that witnesses who may be, and I stress may be, implicated in serious criminal conduct, and I stress serious, are not being overly cooperative with the Commission, and the Commission must exert its authority in order to do its work. It's been mandated by the President in terms of the Constitution to investigate these matters, and it must assert its authority, and it does appear to be asserting its authority, which is quite proper for it to do, not only from a legal point of view, but, commissions of inquiry are there to reassure the public that matters of criminality are being dealt with, and it must exercise its powers to the fullest. It's quite correct, therefore, in the stance that it is taking now in relation to witnesses who may be recalcitrant or refuse to cooperate.
Advocate Paul,
the law must be
finish
enforced.
off. The law must?
The law must be enforced.
Yes.
It's very important that that is done.
Absolutely, absolutely. Advocate Paul Pretorius, who was the evidence leader at the Zondo Commission, explaining there why it's so important to have this accountability. And we have so many witnesses who are avoiding testifying at the Mlanga Commission, treating it as a bit of a joke. But Justice Mlanga having none of this. He's rebuked Fadil Adams earlier in the week, and now he's having a full go and referring this matter to the NPA for Sulaman Karim.
Afternoon, Mandy. People like Sulaman Karim, they've got the financial means to get very good legal counsel. So he's not worried. He would rather go through the legal process of being criminally charged than appearing at Mlanga Commission, because most probably this is what he'd rather do than go and discuss the contents of his affidavit there with Mlanga.
Strong communities are built on a strong local government. Every day, municipalities work to deliver these essential services, improve lives, support thriving communities across South Africa. As the voice of local government, SALGA represents, supports and empowers municipalities to build capable institutions, promote good governance and advance effective service delivery. SALGA, inspiring service delivery.
We're giving you millions of reasons to celebrate with a selection of Lucky Millions Lotto balls. You could claim jackpots when you pick numbers from thousands of daily deals. Choose numbers on UK 49s, Euro Million, and lots more from just R5 per line. Enjoy more chances and more ways to win, all in one place. Grab your chance to celebrate extraordinary riches when you play Lucky Millions from Hollywood Bets. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years operated to gamble. Was know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 06 008 or WhatsApp help 076 675 0710.
Things be pressed about in traffic. Number 55. Is this the right outfit choice for my shape? Ladies, embrace all your beauty this Women's Month. With the Outsurance Pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Mandy. Good afternoon. How are you, Mandy? Mandy, Karim think he's clever, ne? So Karim must be arrested. Karim is afraid to bring the statement because he knows very well that he's going to implement who and who and who. giving him money left, right, and center, Mandy. So he must be taught a lesson so that the others who are in hospital thinking that they will bring Karim's tricks, they must just get arrested. Karim must be arrested. He think he's clever. Bye, Mandy.
Ah, I love that voice note. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, he must pay the price now if he wants to avoid it. Well, somebody else who got rebuked, of course, was Fadil Adams for claiming his laptop wasn't working for like 2 years, whatever it was. He appeared in court today in KZN. Karinda Jagmohan, EWN reporter, was there for us. Karinda, good afternoon to you. Tell us about Fadil Adams' appearance today.
Good afternoon, Mandy. Well, it was a brief appearance. His matter has been postponed to the 11th September. Now, he's accused of defeating the ends of justice and fraud for visiting the Westville prison in 2024 and 2025. When he said he was conducting an oversight visit, he requested a blue light escort there and back, but he had no official parliamentary mandate to do this. He went to the prison and on both occasions interviewed inmates, one of whom we now know was Sibusiso Mlanga, who later confessed to being the hitman in the Sindiso Magata murder case. And then we actually asked Adams today, I asked him, why did you visit this prison? What did you speak about? He said that he was given a tip-off by apparent whistleblower Patricia Mashale that there was instances of police misconduct, and that is why he went to speak to those suspects. But he wouldn't actually divulge into the merits of the case that will now unfold as the matter continues on the 11th of September. But he had a lot to say about the Mlanga Commission. You've just spoken about the laptop issues. Now, essentially, he said that his laptop malfunctioned and that is why he submitted his affidavit late to the commission. Parliament then refuted these allegations, and today Adams said no, Parliament is lying, and that if you go and speak to the technicians at Parliament, they'll explain they've been trying to work on this laptop. He also then went on to say that something more sinister is afoot. We've heard him repeat these claims multiple times, but towards the end of our interview, he said that he might be appearing at the commission on Wednesday, and that's when he will reveal all. He said that hopefully the country will understand what's at play and why people are doing this and why they have been getting away with it for so long. He didn't exactly say what it was, but says this will all be revealed at the commission. So Fadil Adams once again saying that there's something more that the country is not seeing that he's going to reveal or tell all.
Interesting. Karinda, thank you very much. Karinda Jagmohan, EWN reporter at court today. Fadil Adams speaking out. We had that statement from Parliament saying, no, we do not have a record of your laptop being problematic. And he's like, oh, there's more to this. There's always more to it. So you must go to the Mlanga Commission and go and explain to them what happened. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. Acting Minister of Police Feroz Kachalia says they've identified hundreds of discrepancies in the lifestyle reviews of senior management officials over the last 5 years. He says these are mainly failure to declare vehicles, properties and directorships in companies. Kachalia says in some instances, property and vehicle purchases by some officials was not proportional with their known income. In the capital, IDEC prosecutor Ramsamy is back at the Mlanga Commission of Inquiry to continue with her testimony. Ramsamy is testifying about IDEC's investigation into the 360 million rand police tender awarded to a company owned by alleged crime boss Wismusi Kat Matlala. She says former IDEC head Andrea Johnson was determined to have suspended National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola linked to the investigation. And in Southeast Asia, Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto has vowed to close 750 state-owned enterprises by year-end. This as he mulls the possibility of a special court today to investigate unproductive boards reporting made-up profits. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 1 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon. I'm Mawande Mateza. Springbok forwards Elrich Louw and Johan Grobler have been released from the national team and will join the Bulls squad ahead of their game against the All Blacks on Saturday. The pair featured in last week's test against Argentina and will bolster the Bulls lineup that coach Johan Ackerman admitted wasn't completely ready for the match. Lowe and Grobler will be on the bench while Joshandre Skuman as well as Mbilo Komete will miss out. Meanwhile, the All Blacks are certain record try scorer Will Jordan will be fit in time for the first test against the Springboks in 8 days. He's recovering from a back injury and is yet to feature in the greatest rivalry tour. He'll also miss tomorrow's game. All Blacks coach Dave Rennie.
We need to get decent training into him and a decent training week next week. So the original plan was to play him against the Sharks. When he wasn't good for that, we thought play him and even get him some game time this week, but he's not quite right. And so he's definitely better. Yeah, well, it reasonably confident.
At 7 p.m. Banyana kept their hopes of qualifying for next year's Women's World Cup in Brazil alive with a 2-1 victory over Nigeria. Goals from Thembi Kgatlana and Rufilo Jane sent Banyana through to the Intercontinental Playoffs in November and December, which will feature South Africa and Ghana, as well as 2 teams from Asia and 1 each from Oceania as well as South America. And lastly, South African forward Buso Ditejane has found his best form in the USA. He scored twice for his side, Chicago Fire, as they beat the favourites Cruz Azul of Mexico 2-1 to advance in the League's Cup. Mawande Mateza, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in Bedfordview, heading towards Germiston, there's an accident seen on the N3 southbound. This is near Van Buren, causing heavy delays from the Kilulis interchange as a result of that accident scene. There's also bumper traffic. This is coming from Kempton Park on the R24 westbound from Edenvale Road. There's also faulty traffic lights in Woodmead at Woodmead Drive and the M1 in the Mother City. We're still dealing with that accident seen on the N2 incoming. This is approaching Baden-Powell Drive, causing heavy delays from Spine Road. Also, still in the Mother City, accident seen on the N2 Wide Bridge. This is in the Neisner area, causing heavy delays in both directions. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. The lady asked me if I'm comfortable with my excess. I said excess. Well, according to my therapist, I'm apparently a little too comfortable. Sometimes you just need to make sure. And then she just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
And they're off. Horse racing is now live on 10Bet. All the tracks, all the races, and all the thrills, all the way down the home straight. Saddle up and join now at 10bet.co.za.
10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. License number 921096661.
What happens when one of SA's leading maths teachers decides that every learner deserves access to quality maths education? You get SIMI, the Shire Isabella Maths Institute, founded by Michael House maths teacher Paul DeVette. Already helping thousands of high school learners, SIMI provides CAPS-aligned maths workbooks, free teaching videos, and online revision sessions designed to build confidence and improve results. Whether you're a learner, parent, or teacher, visit Primedia Plus or simi.education and join the movement to improve maths grades. Proudly supported by Prime Media Cares and Michael House Community Partnership Trust.
WhatsApp Mandy on 072 702 1702.
Morning, Wendy. Mr. Sulaman can try every trick in the book, but Mlanga Commission will always come on top. He can try anything he wants. I trust Mlanga will always win. Thank you.
Hi, Mandy. Regarding Sulaman Karim and listening to Advocate Paul Hoffman speaking, I fear that Karim's delay tactics might work. I don't see him, unless he's arrested right now. His delay tactics is working. Thanks, Joe.
Good day, Mandy. Mandy, we've got Rudolph here, Makubelo, all the way from Van Vikspan village, go back in Mukopane. Look, it seems like Sulaman Karim will rather go to a court than going to Mlanga Commission, because going to Mlanga Commission to him, it is direct imprisonment and punishment. So yeah, he will rather go to court and discuss the contents of his affidavit through the legal process. Thank you.
On the WhatsApp line, Richard says most people have their email set up going to their phone as well, ladies. Adam's laptop story is a joke. So that's what Parliament said. Parliament said he's also got an iPad and a phone and the laptop that he's been issued with. So he can't say that his laptop wasn't available. There's quite a few other messages. Hi, Mandy. Correction, Mandy. Zuma's matter did not go all the way to the Concourt. It went straight to the Concourt. I love how Mlanga is handling this matter, as it needs to follow the court's hierarchy. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's semantics. It did go directly to the Constitutional Court. It didn't go through the hierarchy. And then Marlene says, hi, Mandy. I think Zuma has taught Karim and Adams well how to delay proceedings. Let's just hope the judges see through his schemes. Hi, Mandy. Trust you well. This case has turned into an oak tree. Roots are there, but branches are going in every direction. I'm so lost. Please, can you give us the sharp from the Durban Police General opening this can of worms? Every time I listen, a new name is added. Why is this taking months? I can see it's going to be years. Lock them all up, sell their cars, houses, assets, and pay the monies back so that we innocent citizens draining blood from, we cannot afford this billing. Thank you very much. I do think it's very hard for people to keep track of all the different characters at the Mlanga Commission. So I try and do explainers wherever I can, but it's difficult and it's taking longer, and rightfully so, and the president extending the commission as well. But it's important and it needs to happen. So try and keep up with us. It's a bit hard, I know.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
So I asked you at the start of the show, how much trust or reliance do you put on opinion polls and political polling before local election? We've got some good polling out. We saw in the last election in 2024, the pollsters largely got it pretty accurate. And what they're telling us now, the Social Research Foundation releasing polling, Gavin van Onselen, who was part of the DA, of course, in charge of the Social Research Foundation, and not the foundation itself, but the polling company, blah, 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 that does the polling for the foundation, telling us that the ANC is in sharp decline, and particularly in Joburg and KZN. Professor Susan Boyson, political analyst, has written an interesting piece about this in News 24 today. Prof, good afternoon to you, and thanks very much for your time.
Good afternoon, Mandy.
So you've unpacked the polling that we have so far and analysed it. Firstly, what is it telling us? What kind of guide is it?
Mandy, polling can be very accurate, and you mentioned that in last election, several companies got it quite right. These almost currently are the findings that we have available are not just SRF, but we also have some elementary media publicity releases from Ipsos company available. And when these companies are using solid samples, big enough to do national projections, and I would say they're in a region from 2,000, 2,500, both of them are in this range, that becomes acceptable. The Johannesburg poll that SRF has is based on a 500 poll size of the sample. Of course, that's for a smaller geographic area, so that should also be fine. But of course, we see red lights when different companies, and in this case we have Ipsos and SRF, have findings that overall go in the same direction, but yet diverge very much. When I say same direction, both basically say that the ANC is moving down. SRF find much more of a national, let me talk national now, national downward move than Ipsos does. Like SRF comes out on 34% currently for the ANC and Ipsos on 38%. That 4% can be very, very important. And SRF comes with 27% nationally for the DA and Ipsos 22%. So these are 4-5% differences, but yes, and when it comes to election results, election night, that could be a big difference. But the bottom line is here, the ANC is going down, is moving further down, and the DA, according to SRF, is moving up quite a bit. According to Ipsos, it is still at a level where it was in the election 2 years ago.
Right.
And so this can have big impact on where we go overall. Just one quick sentence about Social Research Foundation on their Johannesburg finding. From March to July this year, they find a massive change away from the ANC, and in that case, more or less, we're moving to the DA.
I think they
In
have
much
the
of the
DA at
polling where the
42%
ANC
in Joburg.
loses, I beg your
I
pardon?
think they have the DA at 42% in Joburg.
42, indeed, 42%, which is way above the 18% that they have for the ANC. And interestingly, in Johannesburg, then is also MK Party on 13%. That means there's just a very, very small difference between ANC and MK in Johannesburg. MK, interesting across both these polls, they're in a range of 15% nationally and in 13% in July in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
So interesting new force in politics, definitely establishing
So,
itself.
Prof, the ANC infamously ignored the polls before the 2024 elections. And when I was writing my book, The Deal, I interviewed the president about this, and he basically admitted that it was an error to do so, that they didn't take these polls seriously, and it was such a big shock when they got such a hiding at the elections. Do you think the ANC has learned their lesson about polling and what it's telling them?
Definitely, but I do tend to believe rather that the ANC has always been taking the polling seriously. They pretend not to take it seriously very often. And in the past, they have also drawn, in quite a few instances, they have drawn heavily on the Ipsos polling results. And that is fascinating that Ipsos here comes up with higher percentages for the ANC than the other company. Other company more of a reputation of veering towards the DA. So I really think if the ANC had really not taken it seriously in the past, that election has taught them that they had better do that. But they also get this qualitative information feedback on the ground. The ANC in the previous election, even in the polls, only at in the last 2-3 months before that election, really reflected the changes in KZN. The ANC was on the ground. They had information, quality, even if it was more qualitatively inclined, they had information that there was the collapse in that province.
Yeah. Prof, thank you so much. As always, Professor Susan Boyson, political analyst, speaking to us about polls. Tebogo says on the WhatsApp line, Akse, mans. You don't need a poll to determine whether the ANC is going down. You just need a pair of eyes.
7:02.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
Some breaking news out of the Pretoria High Court. It has found that the Higher Education Minister, Buti Manamela's decision to appoint Professor Hlengani Matebula as administrator at NSFAS is... So the court has ordered that be interdicted from continuing as the administrator, and that the dissolved board members should go back to work without delay. And they are the ones that actually approached the court. I'm reading here from a Sowetan article. So it was the board that approached the court, seeking to review Manamela's to send them packing in favor of Matebula. So a blow there for Buti Manamela and the administrator of NSFAS. Let's speak to the DA to get reaction on this. Dr. Delmain Christians is the DA MP who's been speaking on this. Dr. Christians, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me.
So firstly, what is your reaction to this decision by the courts?
Well, the truth is, I think that the judgment is absolutely devastating for Minister Manamela, and I think you've said that now. Look, the court didn't merely suspend his administrator. It also found that the minister's failure to properly consider the adverse Nugent Commission findings and to actually consult the NSFAS board on those findings rendered disappointment procedurally and substantively irrational.
And just remind us, for people that haven't followed this, what those Nugent recommendations were.
Look, so the Nugent recommendations were really about Manamela's appointment of the minister and of the
Administrator Matebula.
Yes, and look, we're not saying that he deliberately ignored the Nugent Commission. What I'm saying is that either the full version was not put before the minister, or he did not properly consider those Nugent findings. So the Nugent findings were really that the court considered that there were adverse findings relating to his conduct while he was a senior manager at SARS. And that judgment actually concluded that those findings raised real concerns about his integrity and suitability for this particular position, especially given the enormous public funding he was being entrusted to at NSFAS. So I think most strikingly, the judgment records that Professor Matebula told proceedings that he had not faced any disciplinary proceedings at SARS. But the judge says plainly that this is untrue, and the records actually show that he has been facing disciplinary proceedings, but resigned to avoid them, so to speak.
Is it the DA's position that you don't like the individual that has been appointed as the administrator, or you do not believe the organization should be under administration?
I think neither. The truth is that this is about Manamela's judgment. So we must have a look at what has happened in its entirety. So administration is not about structural reform. If you remember correctly, NSFAS has been in trouble for a very long time. And really, it's a taxpayer question. Minister Manamela says he respects the judgment, but I think that he went too hastily into the administration process. And of course, he is absolutely right to obtain any legal advice, but we do believe that the legal advice he obtained initially to appoint an administrator was absolutely incorrect. So I don't think it's about the person, and I don't think it's about the board. I think it's about NSFAS in its entirety that has not been run properly. Look, the truth is that the NSFAS Act must be completely reformed and revamped. We need to come back and reform the Act. The Act has not been looked at for a number of years. More and more students are in need of a bursary, and yet no new changes have been made. For a long time now, we've been saying that NSFAS is unable to handle the volume of students actually applying for bursaries. So they are not able to do that. And we've been calling for decentralization. We've been calling for a revamp of the NSFAS Act. And that is really the crux of the matter.
Dr. Delmain Christians, DA MP, thank you very much for reacting there to that High Court decision, finding that the appointment of Professor Klengani Matebula as administrator of NSFAS was irrational.
Unleash extraordinary with the all-new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8 256 gig from Vodacom. Get it for just 1,549 Rand per month over 36 months on a 4 gig Red Core plan. Plus, receive an in-store accessory voucher up to the value of 1,500 Rand. Enhance your deal at 149 Rand extra per month and get the new Galaxy Watch 9 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Clever excuses for being late, number 96. My dog ran out and I had to chase him for 5 kilometers. Fortunately, with Outsurance Pointsman on the roads, you no longer have to come up with creative excuses for being late. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer in the FSP.
This advert is paid for by the political party concerned.
Ish, I love my hometown, but for too long now, I look around and think we deserve better than this. The water goes off for days. The streets are falling apart, and things never get fixed. Look, I'm not asking for anything fancy. I just want basics to work. And I know they can work because I've seen it where the Democratic Alliance is in charge. I want our town to work for all. So in this election, I'm voting DA.
This advert was paid for by the political party concerned.
Sports Wrap.
Sports Wrap.
With Tolakele Mganga.
Tolakele Mganga joining us in studio to have a look at the sporting world. I'm so confused. So as Banyana, they've not qualified for the World Cup, but they are almost qualified for the World Cup.
Kind of, sort of, not really.
Okay.
So the most simple route to qualify for the World Cup would have been to reach the semi-finals of WAFCON. Of course, we know that we didn't do that because we lost the quarterfinal to Morocco. So as a result, all the losing quarterfinalists yesterday played an inter-confederation playoff. So that was Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, South Africa, and Nigeria.
And we beat Nigeria.
We beat Nigeria. So now we go into an inter-confederation playoff. That's the other nations, they're coming together for an 8-team tournament. No, a 6-team tournament.
So we must win a tournament to qualify for the World Cup.
Yes, much like the men, if people had followed the qualifiers for the expanded men's World Cup, where DRC had to play up against, I think it was Jamaica, in order to play their first World Cup. So it's kind of like a second chance for people that didn't do well in the original qualifiers. So we have to finish in the top 4 of that one.
Okay.
2 games away from the World Cup, technically. So I think the one positive Coach Des will take that when the team did have their back against the wall, they actually played pretty well yesterday. Out of all of the games that we've done at WAFCON, so there's an understanding of this is a time where there's a lot of pressure on this team, but there still needs to be deep conversation, deep introspection for this team about where they go to next.
Keith says, what do Mamelodi Sundowns and Kaizer Chiefs have in common? Both want to win the PSL trophy with Stellenbosch FC players. Good for the players, not for Stellenbosch.
You know, the funny thing about Stellies, even though they technically have a rich owner, they are a selling team at the end of the day because the academy produces a lot of good quality players, and they will tell you that they do produce these players that bigger clubs, not to say that Stellenbosch aren't a big club, but maybe one of the top 3 can buy their players. So for them, it's their system and it's how it works because they feel like there's enough quality within the winelands for them to get players in. They've had players come and go. Ashley Duprea, he's back at Stadies, having gone to Kaizer Chiefs for a while. So it's a policy that works for them. But speaking of Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns, that is the big game of the weekend. Fernando de Cruz arguing that it's still too early in the season for him because he feels like both teams should at least have like 5 games under their belt where momentum is already built. It would be a bigger test to see who's not in title contention and what everybody has to do, especially because he has 7 players that are sidelined. Miguel Cardoso was speaking about how all of his players aren't necessarily in the form that he wants them to. But without a shadow of a doubt, that's the big game of the weekend. Everybody's excited about it. Kaizer Chiefs back-to-back wins. Top of the log, by the way, Mandy.
And I was shading them so badly when they lost the first game.
MTN 8, let's focus on serious things here, my sister. There's a league title to be won. Not that I'm saying Chiefs is going to win the league title. Balisa says yes, they are winning.
No, I need to be
we'll
nicer
check on
to
this in
Kaizer
May.
Chiefs fans. I need to be much nicer.
But also, I think it's if the top 3 can continue this until the end of the season, it will honestly build up to probably one of the most exciting races we've had in a while.
We deserve that.
We saw how last season was utterly entertaining until the end. So that's all we're asking for all of these teams to give their best to continue going. I think for Orlando Pirates, the big issue will be Abdeslam Wadu basically telling his players, ship up or shape out. Is that the phrase?
Shape up or
ship up or ship out. That was the phrase. He was telling them, you are back in South Africa. The World Cup is over.
Yeah.
His argument was only Sipho Chain and Nkosinathi BC were the only players to impress in that draw against AmaZulu. So he's told everybody else to get on form. But I think you kind of have to give some of the players grace in the same way we had the conversation about Liverpool and the conversation around Diogo Jota and how some of the players deal with death and loss and grief. The likes of Oswin. At the end of the day, him and Jaden Adams were pretty close, even with Mamelodi Sundowns players, when the fans are going, this team isn't clicking. You can't just wake up one day and just say, I'm moving on with my life. Absolutely. This was a vital player in all of their lives. So maybe for them, it's just taking them a little bit longer to kind of figure out what the next step is. So I think we need to give a lot of grace to a lot of the South African footballers that are going through this season. And yes, we want the season to be exciting, but these are also human beings at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Very quickly, the greatest rivalry in rugby on Bulls playing All Blacks this weekend.
I know the fans are just waiting for that first test. We all just want to see the Boks in New
Quite
Zealand.
A build-up, eh?
We're getting there slowly. It's also kind of funny how like New Zealand kind of get to have their moment in the spotlight because they're playing all the franchises while we're still waiting for the Boks. But Johan Ackerman jokingly saying, actually, this game is very inconvenient for him because they're in preseason. So like with the Sharks, it might be a situation where the All Blacks have their way, and then the local franchise doesn't do that great.
Let's see. Tolakele, thank you so much having a look at the weekend sport for us.
Good things.
Good things.
With Brent Lindeque.
And wrapping up the week for us as always, Brent Lindeque, the good things guy.
Hey, what's happening? 702 in Cape Talk, fam. I've got 3 brilliant South African stories today, all about people pushing boundaries and reminding us what is possible. First up, former ABSA CEO Ari Reitenbach is currently cycling 4,000 kilometers across Europe while living Parkinson's disease. He has taken on the North Cape 4,000 self-supported ultra-distance cycling event from Northern Italy through 8 countries all the way to North Cape of Norway. The ride is the first major awareness initiative for the newly established Ari Reitenbach Parkinson's Foundation, which aims to educate South Africans, encourage early diagnosis, and change the conversation around the condition. Ari's message is that a diagnosis may change your life, but it does not have to end your purpose. As he puts it, Parkinson's may change the way you move, but it should never define who you are. Our second good thing is a huge South African business win. Local tutoring company Teach Me Too has been included in Time's World's Top EdTech Companies for 2026. Founded by South African entrepreneur Nick Miller, Teach Me Too started locally, but now operates in more than 50 countries. The company invested heavily in technology from around 2017 and started developing online tutoring before COVID, meaning it was ready to pivot when the pandemic changed education almost overnight. Nick, who has since moved to Silicon Valley, says one of his biggest lessons has been that South Africans often underestimate our own ability. He says the biggest lesson is not to mistake pedigree for capability or confidence for competence. And finally, 10-year-old Nolo Matawane from Sharpeville is stealing hearts across South Africa. Nolo lost his leg in a car accident when he was just 6 years old. But today, he plays football alongside able-bodied teammates, using crutches to race around the pitch. Photos of him playing recently went viral and caught the attention of Johannesburg sports charity Play It Forward, which headed to Sharpeville last Sunday with football kit, balls, boots, and clothing. They had bought Nolo brand new Nike football boots, but unfortunately they didn't fit. Without hesitation, he handed them to one of his teammates and happily chose to play in his pre-loved boot instead. A supporter has since arranged a properly fitting new pair for him. But there's an even bigger development here. Play It Forward helped Nolo's mother apply to Jumping Kids, an organization providing prosthetic equipment to children living with lower limb amputations from disadvantaged communities. Nolo is now booked for an assessment later this month. And that's it. For more good things, you can visit www.goodthingsguy.com. As I say every week, wishing you only good things.
Wishing you only good things. Brent Lindeque, the good things guy, wrapping up the week for us. And on that note, I hope you have a lovely weekend. It is 1 o'clock, time for Eyewitness News.
This is EWN.
Acting Police Minister highlights discrepancies in senior officials' lifestyle audits, and Indonesia to close more than 750 state-owned enterprises. Good afternoon, I'm Maiki Molapo. Acting Police Minister Firoz Kachalia says they've identified hundreds of discrepancies in the lifestyle reviews of senior management officials over the last 5 years. He says these are mainly failure to declare vehicles, properties and directorships in companies. Kachalia says in some instances, property and vehicle purchases by some officials